Okay, good. So, you know what? I think what we'll do is, while we're waiting for the town board to show up, we have a representative of FEMA and the SBA. They'll make a presentation when the town board, comes to the meeting, but while we're waiting, just so we could save time, if there's individual questions, people should come up, and then FEMA or the SBA will answer it. So, Robert, would you want to start?
Sure, yeah. It's just one general
If you could just come up to the mic.
Yes, sure. Just my question, or the general question among the neighborhood would be, is it more realistic, more feasible to, wherever there was massive flooding in the whole community here, to dig up the old outdated pipes that are, back then were metal, so I think they were rotten, and some of them collapsed, possibility, and they're very small in diameter. Is it, we need the funds maybe to put in bigger pipes to alleviate some of this flooding, or is it more realistic where they're talking about maybe raising the foundation of homes that are in low-lying areas? So that's my main, I mean, I know there's a lot more details to the whole thing, but the big picture to me in my mind is, what is more realistic, putting in bigger pipes or raising homes, realistically speaking?
And
this is what
funding.
And if there's funding, right, what's maybe there's only a certain amount of money, so is it more cost effective for putting in bigger pipes or raising homes? So that's my main question. Okay.
It'll definitely.
Well, you could come up here.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Gina, you can come up.
So just to clarify on that particular question, what we will be discussing on the FEMA side today is individual households for homeowners and renters. As far as the hazard mitigation program, which manages grants for communities, or the public assistance program, which manages grants for public works, that's going to be a separate program. We do not have a representative from those programs here, but I can tell you that the issue that you're bringing up, you're going to have to contact your local emergency management officer, and then they will let you know what the process is to bring it up to the state, and then the state brings it up to FEMA.
So basically what happens is there's two issues. One is you want your house raised, and then there's also pipe issues, the infrastructure. So the town has to apply to FEMA to deal with pipes and underground work.
As far as raising your homes as a community, you will need to contact your local emergency management, and then it's basically through a hazard mitigation grant that they'll be able to do that.
And how do we access that? Through the town, like our town?
Right, through, I'm not sure, you guys might know more about as far as who that person is or what agency that is, but it will be your local emergency management.
Sorry, and is this for each individual homeowner has to make that call?
No. It'll be basically a community effort to get all the homes either raised or the pipes fixed or things like that.
Okay, and so we should, within a community, we need to find a representative, or essentially the town will help us as a representative for us?
Your emergency management officer or agency is the person to speak regarding those particular issues.
So, one question, on that ground, on my property, there are some pipelines, and then there is a route that connecting to the Central Avenue that goes on the property, but then that is not having any easement. We didn't know, we are new homeowners,
Excuse me.
right? So,
Could you please come up front so we can hear what you're saying? Thank you.
So my question is that handled at the community level or at the individual home level? Is it like a consent basis? Like how is it the process going to help if I want to raise my home?
Right.
Raising your home is not cheap.
Okay.
Right, so more than likely, it'll have to be a community effort. You will
Okay.
have to, as a community, contact your emergency management officer or agency, and then they'll determine what the best course of action is by contacting the state, and then the state contacting FEMA.
Well, that's essentially why we are here, right? I mean, I was talking to Paul Feener, and he basically asked us to come down here to talk to FEMA.
So I just need to clarify, we do not have anyone from public assistance or hazard mitigation here today. What we will be discussing is individual households.
That's individual household too, right? So I'm a homeowner.
Okay, so then, so, for example, the max for the individual households program is $36,000. If
Okay.
what you're trying to do is beyond $36,000 and it's for your individual home, then you can definitely apply for a loan. But if this is something that's affecting the whole community or a whole group of people, then you definitely want to get in contact with your emergency management, local emergency management agency.
You know what, now that we have.
So, in other words, we have to collaborate all together, you know, a number of people, and then present that to the emergency manager that Paul Finer would have contact with.
So who is Paul Finer?
The town supervisor.
Sorry, but,
Okay.
and is there, do you guys know who your emergency management?
No, we don't.
Do you know who that is?
Rich, do we know who the emergency management? This is Rich Fun, he's the commissioner, and then we have the town board, we have 3 members of the town board, so now we could start the formal presentation. This was more, you know what, maybe, can I make a suggestion now that we have 3 board members? Why don't we start, this was like the pre-show, you know, so the thing is, I just didn't want everybody waiting around while we were waiting for the board. So now that we have all the town board members, the 3 board members here, why don't we hear from FEMA, hear from the SBA, we'll ask questions, then we'll let, you know, residents ask questions, and then, you know, hopefully we could get some clarity. So I think that would be better. Then it's a little bit more structured. So is everybody, so Gina? We really should, it's already, yeah. I just really want to. We're doing this first. We have to do this for an hour. This should be an hour. No, I told you. We did no shows. Okay.
So let me send a note to them.
On
the table, thank you.
Hello, sir. Good to see you.
Okay, good. So we're going to start the meeting now. So the first presentation is dealing with FEMA, and we have representatives of FEMA and the SBA, here, and we will hear from them. So first, could we just hear from FEMA and the SBA representatives? So you could come up here, and then we'll ask questions. Oh, you could sit over here.
We just have to, so if you can sit here, we have other board members.
Okay.
Microphone isn't on, I can't tell you.
Testing.
Okay, so maybe you could just mention your role at FEMA and your role at SBA, and then we'll have questions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raimundo Gonzalez. I am an applicant services program specialist, and I manage the FEMA's individual and households program. Like I mentioned prior to the meeting, this is for individual homeowners and renters. The first step in getting some assistance for this program is to apply. The phone number that you want to call is 1-800-621-FEMA. That's 1-800-621-3362. And the helpline is available from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. There is a deadline to apply of November 5th. We also have a few disaster recovery centers in each affected county. The closest one to you will be the one in Yonkers, and they're at the Will Public Library, 1500 Central Park Avenue, Yonkers, New York. We also have one in Rockland that just opened at the Orangetown Soccer Field, and they're at 175 Old Orangeburg Road. And we also have another one in Mamaroneck Public Library, and they're at 136 Prospect Avenue. What I like about the Disaster Recovery Center is that you're able to meet with someone face-to-face, and they're able to do a review of your case. Currently, the helpline is experiencing high call volumes, so there is a long wait for you to speak with somebody. If you have not applied, the fastest way to apply is through disasterassistance.gov. It's important to know that this program is intended for your primary residence, and the goal is to make it livable, sanitary, and safe. It is not a substitute for insurance, and it's not going to compensate for all your losses. If you do have insurance, especially if you have flood insurance, it is important for you to file a claim with your insurance. If the insurance does not cover all of your losses, or if the settlement is delayed, then FEMA can possibly step in and help. The two main programs that we offer is home repair for homeowners and rental assistance for both homeowners and renters. Certain personal property is also available for assistance, such as your vehicle, furniture, appliances, but it'll depend on whether or not you qualify for a disaster loan to determine whether or not you get a grant for these items. Essentially, if you do qualify for a loan, then unfortunately FEMA cannot justify giving you assistance for these items. But again, the two main programs that we do offer help for is home repair for homeowners and rental assistance for both homeowners and renters. One thing I want to mention is one of the requirements to receive assistance is you must be a U.S. citizen, a national or qualified alien. If you are here and you are not a U.S. citizen, but you have a child who is, then you can apply on their behalf.
And we also have a representative from SBA.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm a public affairs specialist with the Small Business Administration Assistance, and I'm here tonight to hopefully offer you some relief and some questions, that you might have as far as what we are here, as federal agencies to offer you to repair or replace, your goods and your losses that you had in Hurricane Ida. So this presidential declaration, it covers, a lot of, assistance that you need. When I say business administration, it's not just for businesses. So I see here tonight, there are a lot of people that they want to have answers to what exactly is Small Business Administration doing for homeowners and for renters. And for that effect, we have two programs in Small Business Administration, that one that deals with businesses and the business community, and that is for all the businesses that they lost in Hurricane Ida, and they had physical damages to their business, to their real estate. They could apply to a loan, a disaster loan up to $2 million, and they could have this assistance, that it's through a very low interest rate that's available for them for a very long period of time to pay it off. and with a deferred first payment up to 18 months from the date of the note. Also, we understand that businesses that they did not incur any physical damage to their property, so they have less traffic. In the next 6 months, it's going to be very visible to the business community that they have less traffic. So for that, we offer what they call it an economic injury disaster assistance loan. That loan is also up to $2 million. It covers for, it's kind of like a cash flow for your business to keep you staying in business and to recuperate slowly after this, Hurricane Ida. For the homeowners, we offer loans, disaster assistance loans up to $200,000 to cover your losses for the goods that you lost in the storm, for repair and replacement of your property that was damaged, okay? Very low interest rates, same term supply, fixed rate, 30 years repayment, and, 18 months of deferment for the first payment. For the renters, so for the people that they are renting and they, lost their goods, their cars, their assets in the storm, we offer a disaster assistance loan for $40,000 to cover for their losses. When I say $40,000, up to $40,000, depending on your losses. For that purpose, we partner with Fema, which is our sister agency that's first on the ground. They open the disaster recovery centers in different, centers. We are staffing all those centers with SBA customer service representatives that are there to assist you with answering questions, with starting your loan application, and, with providing you assistance one-on-one, because each loan with SBA, it's an individual loan. And it's perceived as such, as an individual loan, because your financial situation might not be the same as mine. Therefore, we need to follow banking industry, but as I said, these are not ordinary loans, these are disaster assistance loans. Once this process is done, let's say, for instance, that you've been applied for a loan, you've been approved, this is the offer that it's made to you, the loan disbursement starts, to get into your bank account. At some point, you decide, I don't need the whole loan, or I don't need the loan at all. Insurance paid off, or things are, you don't need to take the loan. So that's good about SBA. There's no fees to apply. There is nothing that, it should be derogatory to your, finances if you apply with a disaster loan with SBA. Once the process is done, let's say, for instance, now you were not approved. If you were not approved, and one of the main reasons it would be if you had another federal loan and you didn't pay it off, then that would be a reason for declining your loan. If you are not approved, you have the right in 30 days to appeal, and you could be reconsidered. And then in the same time, we will revert back the application to FEMA for any additional aid that they might have for you. These are the two major disaster, loans that SBA is offering in every disaster. And each disaster, because most of you probably already are very familiar with the pandemic and the loans that they were offered to businesses. So these are individual. This disaster, it's so if you apply for a loan, with SBA for this disaster, this is individual. This is for this disaster. It has nothing to do with any other loan that you might have from a previous disaster. However, if you had an SBA loan before for a previous disaster, like Sandy or like the COVID, okay, once it comes to the application process and you get to talk to a loan officer, you could talk to the loan officer about anything that you might want at that time, such as changes in your financial history, changes in your repayment capability, anything that you think that, might benefit you for this. So that's what I'm saying. Each loan is individual. With that, I will just tell you how simple it is to apply with SBA. It is as simple as scanning your smartphone into this. You just scan with your phone that logo, and you could start the application process online. If you're like me, and you want a one-on-one, assistance, then I would definitely ask you to please go to either a disaster recovery center, that's with DRC, that's closest to your home or to your business. Or go, if you're a business owner, come to one of our business recovery centers that are open. We have one in Queens at the Chamber of Commerce in the industrial area, and we have one that's very close to your location, which is just opened about a couple of weeks ago in White Plains at the New York Power Authority building, which is, I believe, it's 123 Main Street in White Plains. We are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We like to pride that, we take every individual, every business very, cater around each person and try to help them through the process with every documents they might need, with any assistance they might need, and answer all your questions. You could also apply, via mail, or, you could, if you want to get an application mailed to you, but I would not advise you to do so. Take advantage of the fact we are here on the ground. The deadline, as my colleague said, from FEMA, the deadline for registration, it's November 5th. The deadline that's on our press release, that's for, physical damage with SBA is November 4th. But we would follow FEMA's guidelines, and we will accept applications in November 5th as well. So if you have any physical damage, please come, start your application process with SBA. You are under no obligation to take the loan or take the whole loan that's offered to you. And just keep that as an option, because sometimes insurance doesn't pay. And sometimes, you just find yourself that you are 6 months down the road, we are gone, and, this damage and this economic impact to your business that happened because of the Hurricane Ida. So please take advantage of the fact we're here. Ask us questions, help us to help you.
I had a couple questions. I asked residents to email me questions, so I'm just asking questions that people had. Why will FEMA not entertain your application unless you are denied and not refuse an SBA loan? Some people are told that they have to, do the SBA, and if you don't do the SBA, you can't apply to FEMA.
Thank you for that question. So you do not need to apply to SBA if you only care about home repair, including your furnace, water heater, boiler, whatever the situation is. If it's attached to the home, then you do not need to apply to SBA. But you also do not need to apply to SBA if you're only concerned with rental assistance. But if you are a renter and you lost your washer and dryer, your mattress, you lost your car, then the program is set up in a way that we will only help with these items if you do not qualify for a loan. It's important for you to apply. You don't have to take the loan, but at least we'll know whether or not you qualify for the loan in order for us to decide whether we can help you out.
Yeah, has there been, another question people had was, is there any way that the process could be a little more streamlined where people could, they're being asked the same questions from FEMA and SBA, and, somebody wanted to know if it's they feel it's a waste of manpower and resources and inefficient because you could apply, it's the same, why can't it be just one application and more coordinated?
Go ahead.
I would like to try to answer that question. We are trying to not duplicate. So the two agencies and all the agencies that are partnering in a disaster, we're trying to not duplicate the same benefits. And the reason I think that we are doing this way, it's not to complicate things, is to simplify things for you. Because if you follow the guidelines and the process, you're going to directly, indirectly revert to the point where you're going to take advantage of all the benefits. So FEMA, first boots on the ground, SBA, long-term recovery, all the other agencies that are on the ground. So take advantage of this system that's created to help you through the process. And I would ask my colleague to correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. A big issue for many residents, and I think a lot of people here, is some people want to lift up their homes. And we have some areas in the town, an area in the town where people successfully lifted up their home in Babbitt Court. You have other areas in the town, Clarendon Place, you have Marion, you have Warren Avenue, Florence. There's there's a whole bunch of sections in the town where people also want to lift up their homes. Could you explain the process of lifting up the homes? And is this something that anybody could apply to? And what the criteria is to successfully get a grant to lift up your home?
Thank you. So, no, I am not that representative. I do not manage the hazard mitigation or the public assistance program. This particular program that I am speaking about is for individual homeowners and renters only. I can tell you that if you're a public entity or nonprofit, then you should be contacting the local emergency management agency. In this case, it would be the Westchester Office of Emergency Management. And they should be having contact with someone from the state who then has contact with someone from FEMA as far as getting the whole community on board with some kind of mitigation practices or to get some kind of drainage system upgrade or whatever it is that the situation, that the community needs.
So Rich Fine is the Commissioner of Public Works in terms of our uplifting home, process.
We're not involved with the uplift.
Right.
Sorry. Thank you. We're not involved with the lifting of homes. We've walked with FEMA and I think Department of Homeland Security in the areas that were affected in town, the public properties, public buildings, but we haven't been involved, nor are we involved in the raising of homes. I think that process has been spelled out.
Because I find it confusing, some people say you have to be in a floodplain to get your home uplifted. And I'm sort of wondering, there's a lot of people here who have lost $50,000, $100,000 worth of they've lost everything. They've lost cars, they've lost, properties. And I just want to figure out what we could do as a town, to help people maximize the chances of this not happening, again.
Is there a contact name that you know of or a number, that the community or Paul or whoever could reach out to see certain communities that not only got hit with Ida, but that, they got hit with other storms prior? It's almost like a lot of people get flooded, they fix up their home, put new appliances and everything, and then another storm comes. So these number of people in the community, they want to reach out to, this, you mentioned Westchester, what is it, office?
The Westchester Office of Emergency Management.
Of Emergency Management, okay. Is there a number that you know of?
I'm not from here, so no, I do not.
Okay,
have
all right,
one.
so, but we could Google that, we could find out.
But would there,
Before you move on, just if anyone has any comments, if they want to make any comments, please come to the podium because we're recording. We need to make sure that everyone who's listening on the TV can hear.
right, is there like anyone that you could maybe ask, who could come here, who could just focus on the lifting up of the homes? Because my feeling is, we have had flooding problems all over the town.
Yes.
And it's unrealistic to think that we're going to, spend $200 million to address all the, flooding and stop flooding from happening. There's some homes that every time there's a major storm get flooded out. And we know on Babbitt Court, the people who lifted up their homes, they're not suffering like everybody here, is suffering. So I'm sort of wondering what what the town board and the town government could do to help manage the lifting up of the home, process. That's basically what I think is like the easiest, quickest fix for people.
Well, so you think that would be more cost?
I need you to come up, please.
All right, so you think that would be more cost-effective, raising homes, I'm just curious, versus putting in the bigger pipes? Yeah, okay.
Well,
My glasses sometimes fog up,
You
that's
know,
why.
I feel we have to look at everything, but I also feel that, there may be an area where there's 15 homes that are really impacted,
Right.
a lot. And let's say it turns out that it's a $30 million project. I'm
Right.
talking about to, I don't know, I'm coming up with numbers. Then I feel that the lifting up homes may be, quicker. On Babbitt Court, they've been studying flood relief for 75 years, and they never solved the problem. So I'm figuring instead of just having meetings every year, every time there's a flood, let's see if we could help the people
Right.
help themselves by avoiding a significant problem.
Right.
But I'm just sort of wondering if we could get somebody from FEMA here to just help us figure out the lifting up home
No,
process.
that's why, I think that would be a great idea, if they can get someone.
Thank you. Definitely, we will push it up our channels to have someone from the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program be in contact so that possibly you guys can have another one of these meetings with that particular person. And this is only for if it's affecting the whole community. But before I leave today, I would like to hear maybe another question that pertains to the individual household. Has anyone already applied to FEMA? Are they having issues with FEMA?
If people have, I have other questions, but if people have questions, they could come up to the mic. You could just stand in line, so this way we can move this along.
So apply to the FEMA in regards to raising the home or getting the assistance that we need to repair?
Getting the assistance.
I'm sorry, you already applied, you did not apply?
Applied for the assistance.
Have you had an inspector come into the home?
Yes, that's all done. But, yeah.
This program will not raise your home. You're welcome to use whatever funds that you receive from FEMA and use it how you see fit. But the individual and households program is not intended to have everybody use those funds to lift their home. We're here to meet basic needs.
Okay. So the application process for that probably is different, right? So,
For raising a whole community, the homes for a whole community, that'll be through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and we will work on setting up a representative to speak to you guys about that in the future, but I myself am not part of that program.
all right, thank you.
If I can add, I think, just clarification, if I understood you correctly, a neighborhood, a community would need to come together and approach the situation, say, this neighborhood in the fairgrounds will need to have our homes raised due to the storm that's been happening. Is that right? It should not, an individual person should not be contacting the emergency management, Westchester Emergency Manager. It should be a community group going to them, correct?
Correct. There is no individual application for that Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. The community will need a hazard mitigation plan, and you will basically need a grant writer to request that grant through the state to FEMA.
That's what we did with Babbitt Court.
So the town is currently working on two areas of concern. One is the Troublesome Brook, which is a historic area that troubles date back to the 60s. We're dealing with the outside consultant, Woodard and Curran. We're hopeful to have a proposal to the town at the next meeting. I think the cost is about $280,000 for the study, and it'll look at the whole watershed area there. The hope is that the county will pay for half of that study, and then moving forward, determine what they find. We'd have to take appropriate steps.
And we're
past it.
adding Warren and,
So the fairgrounds in Manhattan Brook is the other area. We're hopeful to have a proposal in the upcoming week.
Lytton, where we were last week.
That's the Manhattan Brook.
Okay, so it's Manhattan Brook and Warren Avenue.
Manhattan Brook and, no, Rum Brook's not on that list. Troublesome Brook and the Manhattan Brook. They're tagged on the county site as areas of concern.
So Rich, what does that mean when you said they are tagged for areas of concern? Is the process
It's an
a
area-
little further?
Yes,
Because they
that's
have-
basically a flag to say the county will work with us to look at those areas closer.
Now, the confusion that I have is, and again, I keep talking about lifting, up the homes, but it has to be in a flood zone to get your house lifted up, right?
The areas like on Troublesome Brook, the flood area around it, every time you hit a certain year storm, that water's supposed to go to those areas. So like Babbitt Court, right, you're right next to the Soma River. When that river surges, it's going to encroach into those areas. The flood maps show that. When you look at this last storm, especially in Elmsford, and you look at to where the water crept to, it almost mimics the maps exactly. So these areas they're known to flood. Those areas, I think what the gentleman's saying is if the group goes in, like they did on Babbitt Court, and apply to the feds to get assistance to raise the homes. It's got to be a whole area.
Okay, so that's, now let's say there's an area that this is the first time it flooded, and they lost there was significant damages.
And I think what they're saying is there's individual help that if you apply to them, not the town, but if you apply to FEMA or the business group, that they'll help you get that fixed. That's not something that the town takes on. I know there is a unit at the library too, I think, where they're
That's the
taking
$38,000 that you could be eligible up to for FEMA. And
That's Yonkers, right? That's Yonkers Library?
we had them at the Greenburgh Library.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, but today was the last day for Greenburgh.
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Wednesday, yeah.
Today's the-
They'll
okay,
be
the date.
tomorrow, Monday to Wednesday.
Okay, so Monday to Wednesday, they're going to be at Greenburgh Public Library, and then thereafter, you can go down to the Public Library in Yonkers. I think that's probably the closest one, or Mamaroneck as well.
But just to talk, and Supervisor, what you said about this storm was unlike any storm that's come through the area. We've had people working for the town for over 40 years, and when they saw the devastation and the damage that I'm sure most of these people got, this is something that we haven't seen before. So the regular interval of storms and the intensity of these storms that we're getting now are very different than we had years ago. So people that never flooded are now getting flooded. That's due to the amount of rain that came down. So we have a running list in our department of all the complaints that came in from residents that either our engineers or our highway department has gone and looked at or are looking at, that people have complained to us about. Outside of home damage or raising homes, the emails we get on that, frankly, we look at them, but there's nothing we could do about them. So we've been looking at, like, for instance, the Rumbrook, which is another area that we looked at, Shelley Avenue, where people got completely blown out of the water there. Those are areas that we're looking at how we, the town, could assist. So we've been talking to the state, we're doing our own work. So there's things in there that we're going to try to work on so that, God forbid we get another one of these storms soon enough, and I'm sure it'll come, that these poor people don't get blown out of the water.
Let me ask another question. If somebody made an appointment for FEMA, they filed an application, but they don't want to, and there's mold in their house, could they make the repairs before they get the FEMA inspector, or before they get a check from FEMA?
That's a great question. We definitely want to put your make safety priority. We ask that you document the damages. We ask that you keep your receipts, keep your estimates, take pictures, take videos. Because of the COVID situation, FEMA inspectors will not be going inside your home. They will be asking you for these pictures. They'll be asking you for these receipts, and that will determine what kind of assistance you will receive. Definitely start your recovery efforts already. Start the cleanup process. We don't want anyone to get sick from mold, but don't just throw your stuff away without having any proof to show the inspector of what was damaged.
I just have a quick question, just for clarification. for cars, because we had a lot of people who came to the library who has lost their cars. Can you just again go over what the process and what they should do, please?
Thank you. So transportation assistance, which will be for your primary vehicle, will definitely depend on the result of an SBA application. If you don't qualify for an SBA loan because of a lack of repayment ability or you have bad credit, then we can offer up to $10,000 to replace that vehicle. It is important that the vehicle is registered under your name, that it has the minimum state-required liability insurance, and that the damages was caused by the flooding event.
Is there, has SBA ever forgiven the loans? It's a 30-year loan, I think, right?
Yes, just to clarify, no SBA disaster assistance loan is forgivable. The only forgivable loan that was available was through the pandemic, and that was what a lot of people call it a grant, to offset the PPP loans that there were through different, local lenders. So there is, all the disaster recovery loans are to be repaid in full. Nothing is forgivable.
And it's 30 years.
Yes, it's up to 30 years.
So there's a lien on the house, I guess, if,
Everything that's more than $25,000 in loan, it needs to be secured. It needs to be a secured loan. So SBA is not going to go with a lien against your home, but they would use any available assets that you might have to take in consideration.
and if somebody, if you apply to FEMA, let's say somebody goes tomorrow to the Greenburgh Library, they apply, and the representative says you have to apply to SBA, they don't want to apply to the SBA, they could just say, I want to do just FEMA?
If they do not want to apply with SBA, we can still offer home repair assistance to include their furnace and rental assistance to live somewhere else while they're making repairs to their home. That does not depend on the SBA
Right.
application.
Also, is it true that damages covered are only internal house and apartments, but can't be outside property like yards and driveways?
Again, the goal for us is to make your home livable, safe, and sanitary. Your backyard is irrelevant to us, unfortunately.
Right. Are there like any agencies that might supply more of a caseworker for individuals who may find the process very confusing?
I would definitely recommend that that individual go to the Disaster Recovery Center and go as often as you need to. We're available there every single day from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I can tell you right now, we're seeing very low traffic. So you're not going to have a long wait, and you're going to get that person one-to-one interaction that most people would prefer. So definitely have them go into the Disaster Recovery Center.
And there's also other agencies, like if you go to the Yonkers, the World Library, you have the Red Cross, and you have other social service agencies. Do you know what other forms of help people could get if they go to, say, the World Library and meet with the what type of help will the Red Cross give? What type of help will the county or anybody else give?
I know for a fact that SBA is present in every single disaster recovery center. As far as other agencies, I'm not able to specify per each location, but another good resource to have is 211. Call 211, let them know your situation, and they'll link you up with these other agencies outside of FEMA that are offering assistance.
No, and we have, and then I have one other question.
Thank you. So first, just to preface my question, so I've already applied for FEMA and I was deemed ineligible. My claims through my insurance were denied. The damage to my property was external. It was an outside structure or retaining wall that's supporting my internal structure, which FEMA has deemed ineligible. So what type of aid or relief do homeowners such as myself that had property damage due to sewage backup from the street rushing water coming onto our property, what type of recourse do we have outside of an SBA loan to be able to cover damages because of a presidentially declared event? I guess two parts. what type of assistance do we get federally, and also from a town, Paul? What type of assistance do we get there as well? Because, I mean, nobody saw this coming, but sewers backed up, water had to go somewhere. So as a homeowner in Greenburgh, what type of aid is available to us?
Rich, would you have?
I think when you say sewers, you're talking about the stormwater.
Stormwater, correct.
Stormwater, so, yeah, people commonly refer to the stormwater as sewers. It's two separate systems. So the system on the street is probably designed for a 25-year storm. That's generally what the streets are designed for. This, I think it's over 100, I think they're saying. So the street and the surrounding areas, when you get that much rain and that much, in that close a period of time, it's going to go, water finds its own path. So in reference to the town, we would go out and look at the system, but, and I don't mean to give you bad news, I don't think there's any liability on the part of the town for something like that, for this type of event.
I want to add, just because you were deemed ineligible from the first inspection, should not discourage you from filing an appeal through FEMA.
I filed an appeal. I provided 3 contractor quotes from engineers to FEMA as well. I mean, you know, the process to get an inspector to come out took 20 days. It took them less than 24 hours to respond back and say I was ineligible. So,
I would definitely check back with your case, especially if you submitted an appeal. The appeal process is rather lengthy. They're not going to give you an immediate response within 24 hours. And as a matter of fact, we have up to 90 days to respond to an appeal once it's submitted. So I would definitely have someone check into your appeal again to find out the status. And it might not be a decision yet for the actual appeal, and just be patient with us.
thank you. Just last question, what's the process to get the town to come and take a look at the water and street collection?
So all you got to do is email us. We have a running list. I will tell you, we've been through most of the town once already. And I do think I heard about your case. This is something where it's a structural condition. So the wall in the backyard, if it's not repaired, ultimately is going to end up with the house failing, the structure. So I think in that case, something has to be on that end. I think maybe they're looking at it in an incorrect way.
So I'm not able to speak on your particular case specifically. I would just suggest that if you were denied assistance initially, file your appeal, explain the situation, allow some time for the case processor to review all the documentation, and then they'll give you a decision on your appeal. But I wouldn't be able to tell you what specifically the situation will be for you, unfortunately.
I would like to add to that, don't discard SBA. I know that the word loan, it's taking a lot of the, steam from a lot of people to start the application, but it might help you in the long run. And once you get approved an SBA disaster assistance loan, you are eligible to up to 20% of that loan on top of the loan that's offered to you for mitigation to just help you in the future with, to prepare your home for the next storm. So you might want to consider that again.
Did you tell them about the interest on the loan?
The interest on the loan of his home is going to be 1.365%. I believe so. Yeah, it starts at 1.563%. It is up to 30 years repayment and 18 months of deferment of the loan. And it could go up to $200,000, and in addition to that, 20% for mitigation.
Is that fixed for the life of the loan?
Yes. It's a fixed rate.
I wrote here, you mentioned something about $2 million. What was that $2 million?
It's for businesses.
Businesses, thank you.
Businesses, and also very good to mention, it's nonprofit organizations such as schools, because a lot of schools in the area that they were damaged,
Okay.
and hospitals and churches, they could apply for that, loan with SBA, that it's also up to $2 million, with an interest rate starting at 3.563%,
Okay.
and it's up to 30 years repayment.
No, we have like a church, the Unitarian Church on Jackson Avenue. They can't apply to FEMA. They would have to only apply to SBA.
If they want to apply with us, they are more than welcome to start the application process.
They won't, like a church that was flooded can't go to FEMA.
If they offer some kind of service to the public, they might be able to get public assistance, and that'll be through the Office of Emergency Management as well. But it will not be through the individual and households program that I manage.
What about hotel expenses? A lot of people, they lost everything and they're in hotels and, is there any reimbursement for that?
Definitely submit your receipts. They need to be verifiable receipts, meaning we need to have the hotel name and phone number. We need to be able to call the hotel directly to verify that you stayed there. There are other requirements. We need to have an inspector go out and verify that you occupied the home that was affected and that you weren't able to stay in your home in order for us to reimburse for hotel lodging. But we do offer lodging expense reimbursement, definitely.
Great. My office, we have about 25 or 30 volunteers, and if people are finding it very difficult or, confusing, if you contact my office, we could try assigning a volunteer to, work with you and follow this up until you get the maximum help that you could get. So my office number is 989-1540, and my assistant's name is Krista, Matson, and she is coordinating, the volunteers. Any other questions anybody else has?
Actually, yeah, I do have questions, just two questions. I guess in regards to FEMA, I know you said you were going to help us, escalate it so we can get the proper contact in regards to listing houses or whether the town can get money to help either, change, fix, whatever the case is, the pipelines. My question is, it would also be helpful if, I'm not sure, if the town reaches out to somebody so that we can get somebody quick enough rather than having it delayed. Is that much faster? If both you yourself reach out to someone higher up and someone from the town reaches out to somebody?
I definitely want to manage expectations. I'm not saying that we're going to fix your problem. What I'm saying is we can get a representative to explain the
Yeah.
process and give you guys more information. We will definitely work on getting this community that, yes, for
Okay,
sure.
yeah, that's what I just want to make sure, because I know, everything takes its time and such, but, we kind of want to help this. I believe as a town, we want to help this. As a community, we want this to kind of be sped up and taken as a priority, just so we can talk and see what actually is the solution, if there is any.
Absolutely.
And what neighborhood are you in?
So my other concern actually is for the town is, I didn't hear Florence Avenue being talked to about.
That's the Warren.
And so that's I'm coming here as for Florence Avenue and Warren Avenue because, I didn't hear it mentioned, in all honesty. Oh, okay, is it? Okay, so that was my concern where I wanted to know, what, if there was an update in regards to that. Because I know this storm was the worst of it all, but again, just to repeat and it wasn't the only storm that has hit us or had the houses flooded. So that's our thing as well. It's just not this one storm. This one was the most terrible. Yes, correct. No, there's no denying that. However, it wasn't the only time. So that's our,
So
that's what we
Rich-
want to emphasize as well. This
Rich-
was not the only time when it's heavy rain and the houses either got flooded, maybe either to your ankle or whether it's the whole floor.
So, Rich, do you feel the Warren and Florence Avenue where we stopped by a week or two ago, is that an area that potentially could be eligible for the FEMA uplifting of homes?
So that's already being looked at by the town as an area of concern. We've already had boots on the ground in the area, removing stuff from the watercourse. So we've already started to take action of anything that fell during the storm that might be blocked up. I know one of the residents from that area said they actually had to go during the storm and pull some stuff out. So, but that area is targeted as an area concerned by the county.
So that would be more likely to be
That's
eligible
correct.
for,
Yes.
for the more dramatic.
That's our hope.
Okay, so we're gonna, and you know what, I think what would make sense is, we're gonna have the consultant should be approved by the town board within the next week or so, right?
Let's take it one day at
a Okay. time.
So we need to review it, we need to get it to you guys are gonna have your review. We wanna make sure
I'm
that
sorry,
when we.
I'm sorry. You gotta come over here. I'm sorry.
Forget. So we don't want to rush this. We want to make sure it's done correctly. So, again, if we do something and we do it half speed, I'm sure these guys are going to come back out. They're not going to be happy with us. So whatever we do, we want to make sure we do it right. So we're in the process now, working with the consultant. We've already taken some correction actions on the town's end to go clean things up. I know, like on your end, we're working with the state. So, we're taking actions. But to say it's going to be a week, I wouldn't want to make those promises.
Okay, so basically, what we're gonna do is the town board is gonna hire a consultant to look at a couple areas where there's been significant flooding, like Warren and Florence, Clarendon Place, there's a couple areas that we know. We were at Litton's, that area in Hartsdale. We hired them. We're gonna get FEMA, we're gonna try having FEMA come in and answer questions about lifting up homes. That would be, a future meeting like this. We'll try collectively figuring out what we could do to address, these problems, come up with some solutions, so it's not rhetoric, but, we get results, and I guess
So it was approved to have a consultant
we,
to hire.
the board in concept supports it, but now we
I'm sorry,
have to
I'm
work
sorry.
out the details.
Excuse me,
Sir,
you
we
can't
just can't
speak
hear.
over here because you have a microphone and it's gonna be picking
Picking
it
up.
up. We just wanna have one meeting.
Okay, anybody?
Just, sorry, one last question. So I haven't heard, Paul, anyone from the town, but as a town, as a community, have we applied for FEMA for hazard mitigation as a town? There's more number and volume, so have we assessed the damage across the entire town and applied to FEMA as a community?
So the answer is yes, that's ongoing. It is a long process. I will tell you, I think and no knock on the representatives here, we're still working on the last storm that took place some time ago on some of the numbers. So it's an ongoing process. It's not something that happens quickly. But yes.
Just bear with me, I have a bit of an accent. I'll try and be as clear as possible. I think we've had this conversation before, and when you visited Leeson Avenue, I just want to make a statement, and I got your recording. Here's my feeling on it. The issue you're saying is not the county fault, and it's like on the owners to deal with the situation they're dealing with right now. I don't think it's fair to any one of us. I mean, we all grown-ups here. Natural disaster is a thing that happens every single day. Weather pattern changes. Here's my thing, like I brought up to you, and my concern. A week prior to the storm, there was heavy rainfalls. Greenburgh County knew that. When it's snowstorms, you've got plows, salt, everything's ready to go because you know snow is coming. All of you are aware that a storm is coming, heavy rains might be possible. Will you prepare? That's my question one. I don't think so. That rainfall came, it was recorded, heavy rainfalls. A week after that, we got hit with that storm. So let's think about it now. Heavy rainfalls, streams, flooded areas, all that water still in the ground. And here is more water coming on top of me. I asked you, and you said, yeah, but I'm telling you I didn't see it. I've been living there 7 years. He's been there longer than me. There's other people that have been there 50 years. That is not the first time it happened. To stand here and make it seem, hey, this is a problem that we're just dealing with right now, I'm not going to buy it. Let me finish. And on top of that, to say, hey, it's not, to tell somebody it's not the county fault. And every time I hear you speak, it's like you're telling us, hey, it's your responsibility. You got to spend the money. I got to put my house up to take a loan for 30 years, sell my left leg. Up to now, having a Greenburgh say, listen, we're going to do this thing as a community, as a county. We're going to be there for you. We're going to go through the red tape for you. Because you keep saying it's a long process. Yes, it's a process. But if you're going to help me go through the process, then I could sit here and listen to what you have to say. Like I told you, I'm from an island surrounded by water. So I see hurricanes, I see storms. Y'all were not prepared for this, even though you know it's coming. And to stay there and say the county doesn't have a problem or doesn't have a responsibility for it, I can't accept it. All right? Y'all should have gone around the storm drains. Y'all should have gone around and see where trees fell. Y'all should have done that, not just that week, every other season before that. Because we have trees and we have drains. They got to get clean. And if you're short on staff, that's something that your county have to look at and say, listen, let's hire more people. Create jobs. That's fine. If you need help, knock on my door. I'll come out and help. But don't say, hey, it's your fault. And everybody's sitting there, hold on, everybody's sitting there asking for one thing. What do I do so my house doesn't get flooded again? I need a solution. I'm not going to repair my basement and then 2 days after a storm comes and it's flooded again. What, go take another loan? How much loans do I have to take from them? So it doesn't make sense to me. Just saying.
I understand.
All right? So give me something. Give us something that we could move forward with and stop telling me it's a long process. We know that already. We're going to be patient. But give us something that we could work with. Stop feeding us little things like, Chan, don't play the politics with me. Give me something solid. I'm not frustrated, I'm not upset. Just give me something.
I hear you.
All right?
All right, first, just so I want to make one, I'm not a politician. All right? So, the one thing that we went on out there, and we had the same conversation, we as a town are not permitted to go onto private property and do work. I have to say it. We can't just go onto private property. I know you've got the problem with the stones, right? There is a water course that travels through private properties. The town has pipes over our road. That is absolutely our responsibility. And I hear the gentleman. I will tell you that we do have crews out every day, every week, working on the trees. So we're constantly out looking at that. In reference to the storm drains, we have miles and miles and miles of storm drains. We do the best we can every day to make sure we do something to keep those open and running. And like I promised you, and we held a promise with the Troublesome Brook people, the next storms we will have someone stationed there. So that if something does come from, because what happens is when you get that much water, we've had cars picked up and moved through yards. Anything in people's homes that are on the ground, that are laying in the woods, get picked up and go towards the stream and then block up these areas. And when they get blocked up, and it happens quick during these storms, and I'm not making excuses, but this is just what happens. It happens quick. So what I promised you is we'll have someone out there, just like we do at Troublesome Brook and some of these other areas. But unless the town board gives me authority to go onto private property, we just can't do it. As much as we'd love to go help everybody, we just can't go onto private property.
But they'll send the tax assessors on our property.
We've done our city.
No, it's, we can't spend public money on private property. You know, it just, it's the law. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I'm just gonna make it short because I'm from the same area. Mr. Feiner was there and everything. What I wanted to say was about your surveys and of the brook and everything like that. The Rum Brook, it will be a part of it, right, Mr. Feiner? Okay, yeah. But with that in mind, I think the people that are doing these investigation surveys should knock on our doors. I've been there 20 years, and it's a lie that this is the first time, okay? In 20 years, this is the second time. And many, many other times, it came very, very, very close, okay? This is the second time we've Had 2 feet the first time, we just moved in there, now we had 4 feet. With this in mind, it's not gonna stop, it's global warming, okay? You could blink your eyes and this is gonna happen tomorrow, okay? So with that in mind, I think your investigation should include homeowners, okay? Homeowners, I got video of the brook, I got pictures of the brook, I've got everything. I've got video of 2 DPW workers coming out there and looking at it, and I asked them what you can do, and they said nothing. Once it starts moving like that, they're not going to endanger their lives to go in there to unplug it. And I say, okay, it's 15 inches from the tube that goes underneath the street. It's on my property, okay? So what if it goes over the tube? Well, we can't do anything about it. I'll get flooded again, okay, over and over and over. Now, I've got results from FEMA already, okay? They came to my house, and they told me exactly what they could do. I'll accept that. I'll accept that.
Can I ask you a question? Did you, just so I have an idea, are we satisfied with the amount that they're giving you?
No, they haven't come up with an amount or anything or what's covered. They say, do what you gotta do, they said. And then they have a pad, and they take down everything, okay? And then they say, well, we cover certain things, okay? If you got insurance on your car, they're not gonna cover that, okay? Other things, if you got flood insurance, they'll deduct that from the amount they give you, stuff like that. So they're gonna adjust everything, and they'll give you whatever their pads say, you know? But,
Because one of the things that would be helpful, at least to me, is I want to present our congressional delegation, the senators and the members of the House of Representatives, with like a report and recommendations at the conclusion of this process, saying this is what we think, going forward, FEMA and SBA could do, better. Because I personally think it's like super confusing, the whole thing, and I feel that it's not like really, it's not, their fault, but I feel it's not a customer-friendly, process. And I feel that, right after every storm, the governor and the congressional delegation say, we're gonna give you relief, and everybody thinks they're gonna get, their hotel bills paid for. They feel they're gonna get all the expenses paid for, and then months go by, and they may get loans, or they may get some help, but it's not nearly as much as they thought. And I feel that the expectations are so much higher than the reality. Now, if people, maybe there's some people here who will have like such a fabulous experience, and I'd like to know that, that also. I'd like to hear positives, negatives, and your recommendations at the end of, the process.
Getting back to what you said, that you can't go on private property.
I'm sorry, could you put the mask over your nose, please?
And my glasses are gonna fog up.
That's all right.
It's all right?
Better
Yeah.
than breathing down on Councilwoman.
So, all right.
Jackson.
So, what you were saying about private property, Mr. Finer wanted something. So I gave him something, I sent him an email. What about splitting up? Okay? I have problems with rocks. I'm at the end of the brook. So everything from wherever the Rumbrook starts, all the way to the end, those rocks come down. I can't move them. So what about we split it up? I'll make the homeowners in charge of the landscaping and maybe the trees, okay? And the garbage that falls in it, we can get it up. Say a senior citizen, I can't pick up rocks like this out of the brook. What about we split it up? You take care of that, and I'll take care of the rest. I emailed you on that, so I'm waiting for an answer.
The only thing I should mention is that right after we had the meeting, within 24 hours, Rich Fahn and the Public Works Department started, addressing it, and, Rich, you're working on an easement now to clear up a lot of the obstructions, right?
First, I just want to reiterate again, I don't have the authority to go onto private property.
Right.
I don't. I would be breaking state law if I did. So that's something down the road. I will tell you, I didn't say it was the first, I said this was the worst. Because I could tell you, Rumbrook, when I worked for the engineering department, I want to say it was about 1999, 2000, somewhere in there, I remember issuing notices to every homeowner along that brook that they had to clean it. And we're going to do that again.
I got one of those.
All right, so that was probably me 20 years ago. And it's not something that we're trying to be mean or go after people, but it's causing this problem, because when people have things in their yards that aren't maintained, that are near the source of the stream, when you get that much water, everything washes in. And the gentlemen are right. If they go in and do certain things, when you get that, there were people that died in Westchester. You know, they got sucked away. Well, and I respect that, and I respect all that you went through out there, but there's only certain things the town could do. We're gonna do everything we can. But to respect what the supervisor was saying, at the end where the state has right-of-way, their right-of-way, where they have a pipe going under their road, we're working with them and one of the homeowners out there to get access through their property to go clean that area up. That's what we're doing. It's not on private property, it's public property. I'm sorry.
But I just wanted to say that, you know, within 24 hours, you know, you followed up on that. Yeah.
The boots on the ground were everywhere.
Mr. Fine, I want to agree with you that this process is quite cumbersome and not user-friendly. But here I am, Ms. Dudek, your secretary, told me that I was here for a meeting at 4:30. I was here promptly, and now it's almost 6 o'clock. When am I going to get my meeting? I'd like to know that. Not fair to me. These people have had their time, and I feel very sorry for them. But you spent a lot of time, and this is a very good effort. I see a lot of dissatisfaction. I know a lot of people want to get their homes raised. FEMA may not be able to do that. But again, you just mentioned that the process is cumbersome and not user-friendly. I'm here at 4:30, ready for my meeting. When am I going to get my meeting? I think,
But we're almost done with this.
well, when will it be done? I asked a question. When am I going to get my meeting?
Yeah,
My name is Gary
introduce yourself,
Rappaport.
and what
I live in Ardsley. I have an appeal that was scheduled for 4:30 on a FOIL appeal that I filed.
First of all, we publicized this on the website that this meeting was at 4:30.
Absolutely.
And this was noticed. Well, I mentioned to the assistant to the town board that this is the fourth. You know what? I specifically said, and we publicized during the week that from 4:30 to about
Well,
5:30.
Mr. Finer, you've had your meeting since you've had the meeting since 4:30. That's great.
Well, you know what,
My meeting is noticed for
I didn't do
4:32,
this
so we have a
agenda,
conflict.
so
So
in a few
everybody,
minutes.
they've had an hour and a half, and I want to give them 10
Let
more
me just say,
hours.
look,
But I think it's time for my meeting, because
there,
I have
let me
young
ask a
children,
question.
a young
Okay.
child, and I got to get back
We'll
and
be-
help them.
we'll be-
Otherwise, I'll give you a quick alternative, postpone my meeting to
okay,
another
we
day.
could put, if you want.
I'll take a postponement right now.
Does
Okay, let these
anybody
people
else
have
have
10
any,
hours, 'cause they
anybody else
deserve it.
have any questions on this? Yeah,
I just want to say, I really don't want to go up to the...
But you have to, because we need to make sure everyone hears, that's why. That's why, I know.
But Mr. Finer, when will I get my meeting?
In conclusion, I have no more, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Paul, okay, so Babbitt Court, I don't know how that was done, okay, the process of how that was done, but could we use that as an example to maybe mimic whatever they did? Now, what I want to mention is, can you reach out maybe to the Westchester Emergency Center, schedule a meeting with that FEMA delegate or FEMA representative, and maybe you could email or these that want to be involved with that, maybe we can have a meeting here.
that's what we're gonna do.
Oh, okay, that's it. I'm very satisfied.
Right,
I'm
because
satisfied. I'm satisfied with that. Okay, that's.
And you said you'll get back to me with when we could have the FEMA representative, just talking about the uplifting of homes. And maybe we could have the consultant at that meeting, and then we just move that along, you know, especially the areas that we think have the best chance where we can make that happen, you know, quickly.
That's it.
That's-
Yeah, quick second. To the comments of that town cannot come onto the private properties, there is a pipe two of them actually on the Clarendon Place in the corner. Every week, small rain, town has to come clean those pipes there. So I mean, they'll come with the brooms and everything else. The pipe from that corner, which is the town's, all the drain comes and sits at 1 and 3 Clarendon Place, it goes through my property. I only owned it for 2.5 years now. I have seen numerous times these people come and do something. During this storm, all the boulders, I mean, there was a 5-foot road that they have to close at the corner of the Clarendon Place and Road because it all went through these pipes and they're all fully covered up now. And those, I don't think they've been cleaned. Next small storm it comes, they're going to accumulate on the corner of Clarendon Place there. So now that property, we've been, a lot of times engineers showed up there during my, these 2 years there. The Bob, I mean, he's been doing a lot of work with the town and everything. I've been talking to him. And there is a junction on my property, which I don't know. This house is built in 1965. We've been living only at 25, 26 months there. The connection, there are 2 pipes that come in through that, and that's where all the water came during this storm and every other storm. But those pipes are underneath my lawn, connecting to the Subaltern Brook.
Yes.
So we've been told there is no easement. I think if the town water is coming through my property, I didn't dig it up in, should somebody take the easement and clean those damn pipes there? I'm ready to give the whole property to the town if you guys need it, that lawn.
All right, so I got to say that when developers come in and build houses, especially when those houses were built, a lot of them pipe things. So the property owner at the time took that upon themselves to pipe it, not get an easement. It happens all over. The regulations that were not there, those houses, frankly, I don't know if they get built today. Right? You're right in a floodway. So the regulations today are so different that I frankly don't think half those houses would be there. All right? The reality is back then, someone bought them. How long you been in the house?
2.5 years.
You had an engineer look at the house?
I mean, there are engineers.
Did you have someone come look at the house before you bought it?
Yeah.
Did they come?
Inspector.
Yeah.
Inspector, yes.
So in that report, did they spell out any issue with the flood zone,
I
the
would
brook?
never come into that cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac is awesome,
No,
except for the water.
That's not what I'm saying. What you're saying is you want the town to take responsibility that a pipe that's on your property that a builder put in. That was when the house was built, back in the 60s. Things were done differently back then, very differently. So the town now just can't go take ownership of all these pipes through all the properties throughout the town. There are so many miles of pipe, and so many residences, and I feel for you, I do. And we're gonna do everything we can to help. We just can't break the law. So we just can't go out and maintain private infrastructure. I know what it does. It comes from our road through your property. But someone, when that house was built, did that. There are areas where people put pipes under houses. I mean, there's crazy stuff out there.
What if he gives permission and even signs like, I don't know, a informed consent?
That
or
is something I would say you should work with the town attorney and the town board.
But you know what? We're going to do everything humanly possible to help. We're not going to, go through the motions. I know we had meetings with, Bob DiLorenzo months ago, and I think we've kept a lot of the promises that, we made to your neighborhood. And
Yes, I mean, we would all like to see continuing more, but yes, we have seen some more action now. Yep.
yeah, so we're serious about, following up, on this. And, again, we'll have additional meetings, and we're going to do everything possible so we could reduce the possibility of, people suffering, the next time there's a storm. Now, again, the whole metropolitan area, suffered. We're not going to be able to eliminate flooding, but what we could do is we could do step by step and reduce the possibilities and reduce the the damages that many people will have. So we're going to definitely try very, very hard.
Okay, thank you.
Good, so thank you very much, and I want to thank FEMA and SBA. I want to thank you for spending so much time with us. We really appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody here for taking time out of your afternoon to join us. Thank you. Thank